Ready to ditch those rags to riches stories? We're diving deep into the unfair advantage.
Yeah, this book by Ash Ali and Hassan Kuba really flips the script on how we think about entrepreneurial success.
Totally. It's like they're saying, forget that whole level playing field idea.
It's refreshing, actually. They challenge the assumption that anyone can make it if they just work hard enough.
So what's the reality? What are they saying really drives success?
Well, they use some interesting examples like Evan Spiegel, the founder of Snapchat.
Okay, so what did Spiegel have that most up-and-coming entrepreneurs don't?
Well, it's more than just hard work, right? He went to Stanford.
Okay, right. Great education, sure, but that's not exactly unheard of, especially in the tech world.
True, but think about the environment. Stanford. He was surrounded by future tech giants, investors, people with connections.
I see where you're going with this.
It's that whole, it's not what you know, it's who you know thing, but amplified.
Right. But in Spiegel's case, it seems like he had both the education and the network.
Exactly, and that's a huge advantage right from the start.
So how do Ali and Kuba propose we make sense of all this? Are they just trying to discourage the rest of us?
No, not at all. It's about understanding the factors at play, the ones we don't always talk about.
So they're not denying that hard work matters.
Not at all. But they're saying it's not the whole story. There's more to it.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So what's the missing piece? What's their big idea?
They introduced this framework, the Miles framework. It's designed to help you understand and leverage what they call unfair advantages.
Miles? Okay, I'm listening. Break it down for me. What does Miles stand for?
So Miles stands for mindset, intelligence and insight, location and luck, education and expertise, and status.
Okay, 5 key elements. So it's a more nuanced way of looking at the factors that contribute to success.
Exactly. And it's not about feeling bad if you don't have all of them. It's about identifying which ones you can leverage and how to work with what you've got.
Let's dive into those a bit. First up, mindset. Are we talking about the whole power of positive thinking thing here?
It's more than just thinking positive, although that's definitely part of it. They introduce this concept of a reality growth mindset.
Reality growth mindset. Okay, that's a new one. What's the difference?
It's about balancing ambition with realism. So yeah, you have to have big dreams, but you also need to be realistic about the challenges and setbacks you're gonna face.
It's about understanding that not everyone can be the next Elon Musk, and that's okay.
Exactly. It's about defining what success looks like for you on your own terms.
Love that. No more comparing yourself to everyone else's highlight reel. So it's about having high standards, but also being kind to yourself.
Exactly. And this ties into another interesting point they make about money.
Okay, money. I was kind of expecting that one to come up.
Right. It's a huge factor, obviously, but they argue that it's not the be-all and end-all.
Really? I can think of a lot of businesses that require some serious cash just to get started.
Sure, but they use the example of WhatsApp. The founder, Jan Koum, actually came from a pretty humble background.
Interesting. So it's not always a rags to riches story, but maybe more like humble beginnings to tech giant.
Exactly. Koum actually relied on social services at one point in his life.
Wow. And he's still built a multi-billion-dollar company. That's incredible.
Right. It challenges that assumption that you need a ton of money to be successful.
So are they saying that having a safety net can actually hold you back?
In a way, yes. When you're comfortable, when you have something to fall back on, you might be less likely to take risks.
It's like that necessity is the mother of invention idea.
Exactly. Sometimes those constraints can actually breed more creativity and drive.
Okay, that's mindset and the surprising role of money. What's next? What about intelligence and insight? Is this where we talk about needing a genius level IQ?
And not necessarily. They do acknowledge that traditional intelligence has its place, but
There's always a but.
they place a lot of emphasis on what they call street smarts.
Now that sounds more interesting. What exactly are street smarts in the business world?
It's about social intelligence. It's about being able to read people, understand their needs, and build strong relationships.
Right, you could have the best idea in the world, but if you can't communicate it or build a team,
You're not going to get very far.
so it's not just about being book smart, it's about being people smart.
Absolutely. And then there's creative intelligence, which is another key element they highlight.
Creative intelligence. All right, I like where this is going. Tell me more.
It's about making connections, seeing opportunities where others see problems. It's about innovation.
The classic entrepreneur superpower, seeing a problem and not just complaining about it, but actually trying to fix it.
Exactly. They give the example of Tristan Walker, the founder of Bevel.
Bevel, that rings a bell.
They make shaving products. But here's the thing. Walker saw a gap in the market.
A gap? What do you mean?
He realized that men of color were being underserved by the existing shaving industry.
I see. And I'm guessing being a part of that demographic gave him some valuable insight.
Exactly. He knew firsthand the struggles, the frustrations, the needs that weren't being met.
So he scratched his own itch, so to speak, and built a successful business in the process.
Precisely. It's a great example of how creative intelligence and understanding a specific market can be a powerful combination.
Okay, we've got the right mindset, we're resourceful, and we're bursting with creative intelligence. What's next?
This is where location and luck come in.
Luck, everyone's favorite ingredient for success.
Right. It's that element of chance we can't control. But Ollie and Kuba make a case for why it matters and how you can increase your chances of getting lucky.
Okay, I've got to ask, if we can't control it, what's the point in even talking about it? It's not like I can just wish myself into Silicon Valley and suddenly get funding for my cat meme app.
You could try. But you're right, it's not magic, but being in the right place at the right time, surrounded by the right people.
Yeah, like how am I supposed to make that happen? Besides buying a lottery ticket, I mean.
Well, you can't just snap your fingers, but you can put yourself out there. They argue that you can find pockets of opportunity everywhere.
So even if I'm not in Silicon Valley, I can still create those kinds of connections.
Exactly. Think co-working spaces, local meetups, online communities. It's about being intentional about where you spend your time and who you surround yourself with.
So your network is your net worth.
Exactly. And they also talk about being open to opportunities, even the ones you might not expect.
You mean like saying yes to that underwater basket weaving conference just in case I bump into a venture capitalist who loves kelp?
Hey, you never know. But on a serious note, they emphasize the power of saying yes to things outside your comfort zone.
So it's not just about networking in the traditional sense, it's about being open to new experiences and chance encounters.
Absolutely. You can't plan for everything, but you can make yourself more receptive to those lucky breaks when they show up.
It's like they say, luck is what happens when preparation meets opportunity.
Exactly. All right, so we've covered mindset, money, intelligence, location, and a dash of luck. Now let's talk about education and expertise. Does this mean we all need MBAs?
Yeah, is everyone doomed if they don't have a degree from a fancy school?
That's the thing. They challenge that whole college dropout turned billionaire narrative. They acknowledge the advantages of formal education, of course.
Sure, it gives you a certain level of credibility.
Right, plus the network and the knowledge base. It's a solid foundation, but
There's that but. Again.
they're big on real-world experience.
So it's not just about what you learn in a classroom, it's about what you learn by doing.
Exactly. Asha Lee himself, he dropped out of college twice.
No way. The author of a book called The Unfair Advantage dropped out of college? That's pretty ironic.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
But it just goes to show that there are multiple paths to success. He didn't let a lack of a traditional education hold him back.
So it's about being a student of the game no matter where you're getting your education. Okay, last but not least, status.
Ah, yes, status.
Yeah. This is where we talk about how many followers we have on social media, right? How to gain the algorithm and become an influencer.
Not exactly. While social media clout definitely plays a role in today's world, they're talking about something much deeper.
Okay, I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
It's about how much value you're perceived to bring to the table in any given situation.
So it's not just about being famous or rich. It's about the credibility that comes with certain achievements, affiliations, even just how you carry yourself.
You nailed it. They break it down into outer status and inner status.
Okay, I'm listening. What contributes to outer status?
Your job title, your education, your network. They even talk about the clothes you wear.
Really? Like what? Wearing a suit to a job interview can actually make a difference.
You'd be surprised. They cite this study where graduates who wore brown shoes to investment banking interviews were less likely to get hired.
You're kidding, right? Brown shoes were a deal breaker. That seems a little harsh.
It does, doesn't it? But it highlights how much those subtle cues can play into our perceptions of someone's status.
So it's about understanding the unspoken rules of the game, those subtle things that can give you an edge.
Exactly. They even talk about cultural capital, your accent, your taste in music, your knowledge of social norms. It all plays a role.
Wow, it's like there's this whole other language you have to learn to navigate certain spaces. So how do we cultivate this elusive status without, wearing a monocle and pretending to be a duke?
That's where inner status comes in.
Inner status, what's that all about?
It's about cultivating self-confidence, owning your achievements, silencing that inner critic that tells you you're not good enough.
Oh, that inner critic. We've all got one.
Tell me about it. But the more you feed it, the louder it gets. It's about recognizing your own worth, celebrating your wins, big or small.
Easier said than done, am I right? Especially in the entrepreneurial world where you're constantly facing challenges and setbacks.
It's definitely a journey, but they argue that it all comes back to that reality growth mindset.
Right, that balance of ambition and self-awareness.
Exactly. It's about striving for success without letting your ego get out of control or getting caught up in comparisons.
So we've covered all 5 elements of the Miles framework mindset: money, intelligence and insight, location and luck, education and expertise, and status. It's pretty comprehensive.
It really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. But it feels a bit theoretical. What about the practical stuff? What tangible advice does the book offer to aspiring entrepreneurs?
Don't worry, they get into the nitty-gritty.
Give me the highlights.
They cover everything from validating your idea to finding a co-founder, securing funding, all of it.
It's like the ultimate entrepreneurial toolkit.
Exactly. And they start with the why.
The why, okay? I'm listening.
Why do you want to start a business in the first place? What's your core motivation? If you're not passionate about your idea, it's going to be much harder to stay motivated when things get tough.
Right, because they inevitably will get tough. Every business has its ups and downs.
Exactly. They also talk about choosing the right type of startup for you. Are you looking for a lifestyle business that gives you freedom and flexibility? Or are you aiming for a hyper growth company, something that could be the next unicorn?
So it's not one size fits all. You have to tailor your approach to your goals and your personality. What about the idea itself? How do you know if you've got something worth pursuing?
They have a whole framework for validating your idea, because even a great idea without a market, it's like a beautiful car with no engine. It's not going anywhere.
It's got to solve a real problem for real people. People who are willing to pay for a solution.
Exactly. And they also talk about the importance of having a solid team. They dedicate a whole section to finding a co-founder, someone who complements your skills and shares your vision.
Because let's face it, entrepreneurship can be a wild ride.
It definitely can be. It's great to have someone along for the journey, to share the load, to celebrate the wins and weather the storms together.
2 heads are better than one, as they say. And of course, the $1,000,000 question: how do you get the funding to make it all happen?
They cover different options.
Yeah.
Bootstrapping, angel investors, venture capitalists, the whole 9 yards.
So it's about understanding the landscape and choosing the path that makes the most sense for your business.
Right, and knowing how to pitch your idea in a way that resonates with potential investors.
Time to put on your best shoes and not the brown ones.
Exactly. They actually give really practical advice on building a killer pitch deck, what to include, common mistakes to avoid. It's really helpful stuff. But what I appreciate most is that they don't sugarcoat the realities of entrepreneurship.
You keep it real.
Totally. They talk about the long hours, the setbacks, the moments where you might feel like giving up.
Because it's not all sunshine and rainbows.
Exactly. But they also highlight the rewards.
The rewards, tell me more about those.
The satisfaction of building something from scratch, the thrill of seeing your vision come to life, the potential to create something truly meaningful.
It's about finding that sweet spot between hustle and well-being, pouring your heart into your work, but also making time for yourself.
Exactly. So what's your biggest takeaway from the unfair advantage? What's the big aha moment for you?
I think what resonates most with me is the idea that success, both in business and in life, isn't just about luck or even hard work. It's about understanding the unique advantages you bring to the table.
Owning your story.
Yes. And using it to create the future you envision. It's like they're saying, yeah, life's not always fair, but here's how you can work with what you've got.
Right. And it's actually really empowering when you think about it.
Totally. Instead of feeling stuck or discouraged, it's like, okay, what are my strengths? What's my unique angle?
Exactly. And the Miles framework gives you a framework for figuring that out.
It's like a cheat sheet for unlocking your full potential.
I like that.
Huh.
And it's not about taking shortcuts. It's about working smarter, not just harder.
Right. Understanding the rules of the game so you can actually win.
And that's something anyone can benefit from, no matter what field they're in. It's not just for entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the unfair advantage, what's the one key takeaway you hope listeners will walk away with today?
That's a good question. I think for me, it's about recognizing the power within. You already have unique advantages, even if you haven't fully recognized them yet.
It's about owning your story, owning your experiences.
Yes, and knowing that you have the power to create your own version of success, whatever that looks like for you.
Beautifully said. And this book isn't just for aspiring entrepreneurs, it's for anyone who wants to understand how the world really works.
Exactly. How to navigate the ups and downs and come out on top.
It's about mindset, it's about strategy, and it's about believing in yourself, even when things get tough.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So there you have it. If you're ready to ditch the limiting beliefs and step into your full potential, The Unfair Advantage is a must-read. It's a game changer for sure. And as always, we'd love to hear from you. What resonated with you most from our conversation today? What are some of your own unfair advantages? Head over to the comments section and let us know.
We can't wait to keep the conversation going.
Thanks for joining us for another deep dive. Until next time, keep learning, keep growing, and keep embracing your own unfair advantage.